Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the one and only Mr. Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Michael. Good to see you.
Nice to see you as well. So, one of the things that you do on your channel that I watch and follow is you do talk about the crypto market, Bitcoin, altcoins, things of that nature, which I find very exciting because you just have a unique way of looking at it as an operator, as somebody who's trading positions. So I got to ask, right? This FTX thing after Celsius, after this, why is it all crypto zero? What's going on? I mean, it seems like is it a Ponzi scheme? Is it fraud like Enron? What the heck's going on with the FTX? And lastly, why isn't this asshole in jail yet? I don't understand.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I guess it sort of does. I guess they're building their case. He's in the Bahamas. I don't know how they handle what they handle there, if they even care. They say they do, but we'll see. They haven't done anything. The United States, I think the Department of Justice and the SEC are looking into it and building a case. So the big question is, so for people that are following the FTX thing, they were a crypto exchange like Coinbase, like Binance. And basically what was going on was they were taking somebody, Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO, and or his team were taking customer deposits. In other words, if you put money on the exchange to buy, crypto, just like, E-Trade or TD Ameritrade or whatever, you put money there to buy stocks, they can't touch your money. They can't loan it. They can't use it. That's your money. And they're FDIC insured. These crypto exchanges are not. So when you put your money up there, same thing. They're not supposed to use your money, touch your money. If you buy crypto and you hold it there, they're not supposed to use that without your permission. So they dipped in there, took customer funds and, did whatever with it. So that's what they have to prove. Was there a crime? Was this just incompetence? Because he's out there now on his PR tour, planting the narrative and trying to shape public opinion that, I just, so much going on. I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't running things. I don't have all the data. I don't know what's going on in one sentence. In the next sentence, I mean, you're talking about a guy that went to MIT, super smart, genius, worked at, one of the top hedge funds in the world. And he can give you complete, accurate details and timeframes and this and that on certain things, but other things, I really don't know. I'm not sure. I don't have all the data. So, he's trying to plant this narrative that he just didn't know what was going on. He made a mistake. He was in over his head, and he's cracking jokes that he's had a bad month when people have lost their life savings. And they flat out stole people's money. Allegedly. That hasn't been proven yet, but that's allegedly what has happened. So that's what I think they're doing. They can't just go arrest you because your company went out of business. You just can't do that. So you have to go in there. You got to get the records. You got to depose people. You got to build your case, and you got to say, okay, because they don't have what they had with Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff, he turned himself in. He admitted what was going on.
Yeah, to protect
Sam
his family.
Bankman-Fried has not, admitted to any criminal activity. What he said is, we just mismanaged the company and we're out of business. And we filed for bankruptcy. So that's why he hasn't been arrested yet. You just can't do that. You just can't go lock people up.
So I'm going to say it right here, right now. I hope he's wearing orange sometime in the next 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious that he knew what was going on and it was intentional what he was doing. Now, he wasn't stealing it. Well, we don't know what he was using the funds for, but it seems like he was bailing his other company out that had bad bets, kind of like these other companies that were rehypothecating stuff. And then when you get behind the scenes, obviously there's money laundering, going on that he was doing, printing their own currency.
Yeah, the FTT or whatever. Yeah, it's just crazy
same
stuff.
Thing as Binance. So Binance is the largest exchange. They're very corrupt. They're very illegal. They've been barred and banned in a lot of countries. They haven't disclosed any of their holdings. They haven't disclosed anything, and they've got their own coin. They do the same thing. They print their coins, they sell it, they rehypothecate it, they leverage it, and they do all these other things. And they're trying to act like they're the, white knight in the whole crypto world, but they're just as corrupt as everybody else, just like Tether. And, there's a reason that they don't provide the documentations that allow for, real audits. They only do these attestations, which is basically a written statement saying, this is what we're doing. Yeah. Trust me, bro. And, so that's kind of what's going on there with that FTX. And then what's happening is, as the chips continue to fall, other exchanges are being taken down, and there's a lot of contagion in the space, kind of like in real estate that we're seeing as the economy deleverages and assets reprice. Like with BlackRock, the largest property owner in the world out there, they're not even allowing people to withdraw funds from one of their
Yeah,
REITs
I think it was Blackstone.
or
Just so we
Blackstone,
know, yeah, Blackstone. I always get
BlackRock,
confused too.
Blackstone, whoever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another $1 trillion money manager. But yeah, Blackstone just last week, and I know this because I actually own their stock, not a lot, but some. Yeah, they have a private REIT, so you have to be invited to join. They're limiting withdrawals, right? So it's kind
Well,
of
they
like
paused it. They're not limiting.
they
They stopped it.
or they paused it for the quarter. Yes, yes. We'll see if it starts up again in January. But yeah, that was an interesting. This all stuff is connected, right? And on the Blackstone to FTX front, this is what I was thinking, right? So when I look at Blackstone, again, I'm a stockholder, so I clearly have skin in the game and probably a biasy. I look at this going, Blackstone's being a good operator, right? Because real estate, as you know, is illiquid. It takes a while, right? They're selling 49% in 2 casinos in Vegas, and they're going to have a big capital, but it takes a while to get those deals done. Crypto, you could sell in a second. It's very liquid. And but when
Then
you
once
look
the
at
exchange shuts down, which
yeah,
is what's happening.
it gets stuck. Yeah.
That's what's
Sorry,
happening. It's
I don't mean to
locking
laugh.
people's. Yeah,
Oh
but
man.
that's what's going on. They're shutting down and not allowing, redemptions, withdrawals, sales. You just can't do
Oh,
anything. You're stuck. Then it goes into bankruptcy, and it's just who knows what
and
happens.
then the lawyers get paid and you get nothing back.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
criminal. But again, when I go back to Blackstone, I wonder if it's, is it like FTX, which I'm not saying it is, but again, right, they paused withdrawals. Um, or is it just real estate's illiquid asset and they just need time to raise capital?
Yeah. Real estate's illiquid, and they are working the sale out, and they're leveraged like everybody else. So the dynamics have changed, and whether or not they're in default distress, we don't know those things.
Nope.
I think they're just they need to keep a certain amount of liquidity in there, and they just can't meet the redemptions. Back to your question about Ponzi scheme
Or fraud.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the true definition of a Ponzi scheme is what Bernie Madoff did. You're taking money from investors to pay other investors.
Yeah.
So
taking
that's
new to pay old.
Yep. Right. So a lot of people call Bitcoin a Ponzi. They call crypto a Ponzi. And, maybe some of the cryptos are. Bitcoin is very different than cryptocurrencies. FTX is not a cryptocurrency. That was an exchange. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't necessarily purporting a Ponzi scheme. He just stole customer deposits.
Just fraud,
he wasn't
paying
dividends. He wasn't paying, that. So that wasn't a Ponzi. That was it was just a crime. He just stole money. It was a fraud. Yeah. Now, Bitcoin is more like a pyramid. A lot of crypto is more like a pyramid. And how does a pyramid work? It takes new money to jack up the value and pay off the original people, in a pyramid scheme. So I'm not saying Bitcoin's a pyramid scheme. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's more akin to a pyramid than a Ponzi. Because there's a real, it's a code, it's a piece of code. There's a real computer network all around the world that maintain and validate the transactions. And, if I want to send you a Bitcoin, that gets recorded on the blockchain, So that's a real technology. It's a piece of code. And as long as the network is up and running and validating and recording those transactions, then our proof of ownership is there, and that's how the Bitcoin network works. But in order to drive the value of a Bitcoin, you need more capital. You need more people coming into the space. And that's why, people get so angry when you say Bitcoin's going down, because it's affecting their holdings. And the only way their value goes up is to bring you in. So you buy and you hold. That's why this diamond hands, laser eyes, hold on for dear life, because if you sell, that drives the value down. What drives the value up? Not selling. But the problem is these same people that tell you to diamond hands and hold on for dear life, they tell you that, but when the price gets to their level, they sell. And those times. So anyways,
it's funny when I look at all this as an outsider and somebody who has a full Bitcoin, right? I bought one years ago just to have one, and I still do. So I say this as somebody with skin in the game. It is interesting to me as a casual observer. No, I don't understand the technology. I get the coin, the market, altcoins. I think it's all just fake juice scams. But now I look at Bitcoin and a couple others like Ethereum. I'm like, these two things that have real technology behind it, they actually might come out of this as winners. And, the rest of the scams and, like FTX, FTT printing and valuing their old coins, all that nonsense goes to zero. Crypto might look very different 12, 18 months from now, a couple of winners and everybody else gone. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's happening. So a lot of the junk is getting cleared out, and the useless stuff that's being created and that people are being sucked into and things like that. I mean, I'll give you the best way to think about all this. It's kind of like the lottery, right? The lottery is not a scam, but you need a bunch of people buying in order to drive the value up of that jackpot. Crypto is kind of the same way. And Bitcoin, I know we had this conversation when you bought it. You bought it as a hedge against inflation, right?
I bought it as I call it insurance policy. So I put 1% of my net worth into crypto, most of that Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then two other altcoins. And I haven't touched it. I don't really even look at it except when people ask. But yeah, this was
but
in
I remember
2019.
your first thing you said, yeah, I bought it as a hedge. And I'm
Yes,
like, what? You're
a
like,
risk.
well, insurance.
You're right.
And
Yeah,
then here you are, what, a
yeah.
year or two later, you're underwater.
I am. Yep, I am.
So,
Yep.
it all depends on when,
Mhm.
and sure, that might work out for you in the long run, but maybe it won't. Who knows? We don't know ultimately where it goes. What we do know
Yep.
is the only way the value goes up is you got to bring more people,
Yes.
more capital into the space. And
Agreed.
that's where, Bitcoin as a technology, as a store of value, it's the perfect gold, right? Because you can transfer it around the world instantly, anywhere,
Yeah.
anytime. So, from that standpoint, it's great, but that's only as long as the network is there. And that's computers all around the world
Mhm.
that are, keeping the network and maintaining the network and validating transactions. Well, once all the Bitcoin's mined, there's no rewards. So the way those miners work is they get rewarded Bitcoin for maintaining the network, validating transactions. They get block rewards for solving the equation. And those difficulties, adjust over time. Eventually, be after we're gone, the last Bitcoin will be mined. There's no longer going to be an incentive to maintain the network. So what happens if the network goes down and people quit and like, well, you know,
Yeah.
how do you transfer it, move it around, and what's it worth at that point? So it's a really interesting thing. It's it's the most, Bitcoin is the most legitimate in the institutional world. It has the most perceived safety. It's the least likely to be hacked, taken over, whatever, even though it has been before and it can be. Nothing is unhackable, but it just financially
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
The other thing I think about that I wanted to ask you is about exchanges. So
Mhm.
obviously FTX, total fraud, scam, whatever. You've talked, I don't know anything about Binance other than they're quote unquote the largest, but they seem to be very sketchy, like as an outsider looking in. And then I go to Coinbase. I'm like, Coinbase is a regulated US, it's a US entity. It's not in the Bahamas or, some other foreign country. It's in the US. It is audited, although Enron was audited as well. As somebody who owned Enron, that one hurts. Um, but they are audited and they have all these things. I wonder if Coinbase, much like Bitcoin and Ethereum, once the dust settles in 12 or 18 months, actually comes out stronger as the U.S. exchange. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they are publicly listed, so they're a public company, so they have to be more transparent. But there are public companies every day. Bernie
Yeah,
Madoff he
yeah,
wasn't a public company, but
audited
anyways,
records. Yeah,
yeah, and nobody really ever, well, not really. Nobody ever really did validate that he ever did any transactions. That was the whole key there was the SEC came in, he gave them his account number. They never actually checked. There were never any transactions. If they'd have done that, he would have been busted.
yeah,
So, there's ways to validate. But yeah, Coinbase is a US based company. They are supposed to be, the cleanest dirty shirt in the whole laundry. And they could, be the forerunner leader. I mean, Kraken's in the United States as well.
I didn't know that.
But they're not a
Okay.
public company. They're private, and they don't go through full financial audits by a big four like. But again, Enron did too. What was
Yeah,
it? Arthur Anderson that
Arthur
did their.
Anderson. Yeah, they went kaput because of that. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So um, the thing with Binance is, so Coinbase, that's who I use, and
okay, me
I'm
too.
not, I just use them because I feel like they're the safest, but I don't keep any money there. I do my
Yeah,
thing and I get it out.
get it out. Yeah,
And I don't keep tokens there or anything like that. I do my buying and selling and I'm out.
yep,
Just because you never know. They could file
yep.
bankruptcy and everything, and they sent a notice out and said, hey, in the event of a
I
bankruptcy,
remember.
your
Yeah,
stuff's not your stuff. It becomes custody of the bankruptcy.
bankruptcy. Yeah,
So your money, your coins, and they've discontinued support for their wallet. That's going away. So it's getting more risky. The reason Binance won't do that is because they're doing illegal activity.
Yeah.
Okay. It's illegal
Shady
money
stuff.
laundering, shady
Yeah.
stuff. That's why they're not going to come. And that's why a lot of people use them, because they don't have to
Mm.
KYC. They can use VPNs. You know, you're not supposed to use them in the United States, but a lot of people do
Wow.
because there's no KYC. You know, that you can do a lot more.
KYC is what? Sorry.
Know your customer. So you have to
Oh, know your
provide
customer.
identification.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
In
Okay.
order to, use the exchange. Binance
Mm.
doesn't do that. They say they do. And there's a Binance US, which is different than Binance, but
Oh,
Binance
wow.
US doesn't have all of the features and everything that Binance does.
All
So
these things. Yeah, this whole exchange thing again. When I look at all this thing again, I feel bad for the millions of people that are hurt. But when I
yeah,
look at the dust settling 18 months, for my very casual observer, it's maybe crypto, a Bitcoin, Ethereum. There's a couple of winners, everybody else lost, and then exchanges, US based means something. Right now,
yeah,
a year ago, Coinbase was being crushed because they had the overhead of being US based. And not, I think I read somewhere that 98% of crypto transactions are done in one of these offshore shady entities, which meant Coinbase or Kraken or whoever else is here only had 2%. It's hard to be profitable with that limited transaction. So
yeah.
my
It's not
thinking
quite
is,
that. It's quite not quite that skewed,
okay,
And that was more towards the stable coins, but that's kind of balanced out a little bit more where Tether, that was stable coins where Tether was probably
okay,
90% of the stable coin market, but other coins, USDC, which is United States based company, is, they're
okay.
wanting to go public. And to be clear, so this stuff, this corruption, money laundering, all that goes on in, public companies with US dollars. I mean, that happens all day, every day in the United States with US dollar and all that. So it's not unique to crypto. It's just easier,
Yeah.
because you can create stuff out of thin air that nobody's watching, nobody cares. And as long
You
as
can
people think,
price you can price your own coin. How about that? And then control the trade, and then your balance
yeah, you
sheet
can do
looks
whatever you
pristine.
want. And it's easy to do. And people are doing it every day and getting scammed and pump and dump. And it's usually the people that can't afford to lose it,
Yeah.
kind of like people that are buying lottery tickets. It's the lower
The
income earners,
tax.
and
Yeah.
yeah, that are spending the money on that kind of stuff. And it's sad. But unfortunately, it's the world we live in. But there are
Mhm.
some real use cases. I mean, Bitcoin, like you said, I mean, that's the strongest horse in the race. They could potentially survive the test of time, become a real store of value, and have a real use case there. Ethereum, the jury's still out on Ethereum, in terms of a lot of those, even Ethereum, a lot of those things. I mean, when you look at technology and what it really is, I mean, it's not that good,
Mm.
compared to it's not that great, so it's got a
Okay.
long way to go, but the internet wasn't that great either when it first came out,
Right.
wink,
Yeah, I remember.
you know,
Remember that?
yeah. And
Yeah.
then the page loading, literally like my hand going down the screen, loading like that,
I remember.
so, crypto's in its infancy and it's still early. And, these times will clean a lot of the stuff out. We need regulation. We need,
Mm.
transparency. We need legitimate projects that are solving real problems.
Yeah.
And, decentralization as a concept is great, but in practicality, that's a difficult nut to crack and it's expensive. And, but that's how everything starts, right?
Yeah. This has been so fun. I appreciate what you do. I watch your stuff on your channel. What is your channel? Where can people find you?
GregDickerson.com. That's where all my info is. I talk about all this stuff. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
believer in the technology, but I'm not a maxi or a pro or any of that. I mean, to me, it's just like the internet in its infancy, and there's still a ways to go, and there's risk. And what I tell everybody is, it's like venture capital. Expect to lose your money. Whatever you're
Yeah.
investing in, expect to lose your money. And that goes with stocks and everything else. I mean, they're risk assets for a reason. You just need
Absolutely.
to, understand what that risk is, accurately calculate it, and be able to withstand the hit when it happens.
Awesome. I appreciate you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You have an amazing week. Talk next week.
Yep, you too.
Thanks.